Let me ask you something real. Have you ever looked back at your life and thought, wow, if I had stayed close to those people, my life would be completely different right now? Maybe you once trusted someone who laughed at your dreams. Maybe you were surrounded by people who smiled in your face but silently prayed for your failure. Maybe they called it joking, but deep down it wounded your spirit. And here's the powerful truth most people realize too late. God was protecting you long before you understood what was happening. Some people don't come into your life to support your destiny. They come to distract it. And God, in His mercy, knows when to step in. When we talk about joculus people, we're not just talking about humor or laughter. We're talking about people who mock your growth, laugh at your faith, make light of your struggles, turn serious matters into jokes, normalize disrespect under the label of fun. They joke when you need encouragement. They laugh when you need understanding. They minimize what God is doing in your life. And the danger is this: not every enemy comes as a villain, some come disguised as friends. That's why discernment is protection. God is deeply concerned about your environment. Why? Because who surrounds you influences who you become. The Bible reminds us, bad company corrupts good character. God knows you can't grow in faith surrounded by constant mockery. You can't hear His voice in a crowd that celebrates noise. You can't protect your calling while entertaining people who don't respect it. Sometimes God doesn't change the people, He changes your access to them. Distance becomes mercy. Separation becomes protection. Let's be honest. When God removes people from your life, it doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it feels lonely. Sometimes it feels unfair. Sometimes it feels confusing. You ask, why did they leave? Why did this friendship end? Why did everything change so suddenly? But what you didn't see was the conversation they had behind your back, the jealousy they hid behind laughter, the spiritual blockage they were creating in your life. God saw what you couldn't. What felt like rejection was actually redirection. What felt like abandonment was divine rescue. Think about Joseph. Joseph was surrounded by people who smiled at him, his own brothers. They joked with him. They lived with him. But they secretly hated the vision God placed inside him. They mocked his dreams. They ridiculed his purpose, and eventually they tried to destroy him. But God allowed Joseph to be removed from them, not to punish him, but to position him. If Joseph had stayed comfortable, he would have stayed small. If he had stayed accepted, he would never have become appointed. Sometimes God allows betrayal because your destiny cannot survive familiarity with the wrong people. There are moments when God cancels friendships, ends conversations, creates awkward distance, makes certain people uncomfortable around you, not because you changed for the worse, but because you outgrew what they were comfortable with. Some people liked the old version of you, the quiet you, the insecure you, the version that didn't challenge them, but when God starts elevating you, jokers become uncomfortable. Your seriousness exposes their emptiness. And God says, you can't carry them into your next season. Here's the beautiful part. Sometimes you didn't even ask God for protection, yet He still stepped in. You didn't pray, God, remove this person, but God saw the damage forming and acted anyway. That's grace. That's love. That's a father watching over his child. Closed doors are not punishment. Blocked connections are not accidents. They are evidence of divine care. So what should you do when God distances you from harmful people? Don't chase what God removed. Don't explain yourself to people who mock your growth. Don't feel guilty for choosing peace. Thank God even when it hurts. Trust that God is protecting your spirit. God is guarding your future. God is preserving your purpose. You don't need everyone to understand you. You just need God to guide you. Let me leave you with this. If certain people disappeared from your life, if certain voices went silent, if certain relationships didn't survive your growth, it wasn't bad luck. It wasn't coincidence. It was God stepping in quietly and saying, this one is too valuable to be damaged. This one is too called to be distracted. This one is too protected to be surrounded by jokers. So walk forward without regret. Stand firm without apology. And trust, God is still protecting you, even now. If this message spoke to you, take a moment today to thank God not just for the people He added to your life, but for the ones He removed. Sometimes protection doesn't look like a miracle. Sometimes it looks like distance, and sometimes distance is the miracle.